The awaited day has come, the 22nd of May 2021. Today, eligible Kuwaiti citizens will cast their votes to choose their representative at the Abdullah Salim Hall, the Kuwaiti Parliament, for the 5th constituency vacant seat. The schools have opened their doors from the early hours of the morning. All state institutions are working hard for the success of the electoral process. With the exceptional circumstances the entire world is witnessing due to the COVID-19 pandemic, institutions have a greater responsibility to secure the safety of the people by taking the necessary precautionary and preventive measures. Stay with us. In 1963, Kuwait became the first country in the Gulf region to establish an elected parliament, which became known as the National Assembly. It consists of 50 elected members who are chosen in general elections held every 4 years. Government ministers are also granted membership in the parliament and can number up to 16, excluding the 50 elected members. As the legislative branch of the government, it is the responsibility of the parliament to develop laws that will contribute to the development of the country. The National Assembly also has a monitoring role over the government performance, and the Constitution provides tools for the parliament to exercise this right, including the interpellation tool, which allows MPs to grill ministers when necessary, including the Prime Minister, the head of the cabinet. The National Assembly plays a prominent role not just in internal affairs of the country, but also in strengthening Kuwait's relations with countries around the world and establishing common interests in light of the challenges posed by regional and international developments. The National Assembly was initially established with an electoral system divided into 10 electoral districts. On December 16, 1980, an Amiri decree was issued to redefine the electoral districts for membership in parliament. The electoral system was amended by dividing the country into 25 electoral districts instead of 10. However, in August of 2006, another electoral reform law was passed to redefine the electoral districts, making them 5 instead of 25. And stipulating that 10 MPs are elected in each district. Furthermore, eligible voters have the right to vote for a maximum of 4 candidates in the constituency to which they are registered. Currently, more than 2/3 of those who reside in Kuwait do not hold Kuwaiti citizenship and thus cannot vote in parliamentary elections. Additionally, prior to 2005, only 15% of Kuwaiti nationals were eligible to vote, with all recently naturalized citizens or those with less than 30 years citizenship, as well as members of the Kuwaiti Armed Forces, being excluded. On the 16th of May 2005, the Kuwaiti Parliament voted in favor of granting women political rights, including the right to vote and to run for National Assembly elections. The vote was won by a 37-23 margin. The decision raised Kuwait's eligible voter population from 139,000 to nearly 339,000. Voters in Kuwait's 5th constituency head to the polling stations on Saturday in the by-election, the 14th in Kuwait's history, to select a representative to fill the vacant seat previously occupied by Badr Al-Dahoum Al-Azmi. The by-election is being held in line with Article 84 of the Kuwaiti Constitution, which stipulates that elections are held within 2 months following the vacancy of a parliamentary seat. The mandate of the new democratically elected member shall last until the end of that of his predecessor. Since the 1963 legislative elections, by-elections were held for different reasons, including the passing away of a member, the resignation of a member, or the annulment of the official results. The first case occurred back on October 27, 1964, when then MP Sulaiman Ahmed Al-Haddad of the 6th constituency submitted his resignation to the National Assembly. A by-election was held on December 23rd, which resulted in the election of Ali Al-Umar to the House. 8 MPs resigned on December 7, 1965, in protest against the endorsement of what they considered laws curbing freedoms. They were Ahmed Al-Khatib, Jasim Al-Qatami, Rashid Al-Tawheed, Sami Al-Mnayis, Sulaiman Al-Mtawwa', Abd al-Razzaq Al-Khalid, Ali Al-Umar, and Yaqub Al-Hmidi. A by-election was held on February 9, 1966, resulting in the election of Ahmed Abdul Jalil, Naif Al-Khlayfi, Rashid Al-Hajri, Sulaiman Al-Dweikh, Abdul Aziz Al-Msaid, Ghannam Al-Jamhour, Muhammad Al-Wazzan, and Nasser Al-Mlevi. MP Modi Al-Nazzal resigned from the parliament on October 29, 1966, and a by-election was held, resulting in the election of Khalid Al-Masri. 7 MPs resigned during the second legislative term in 1967, namely Khalid Al-Fhaid, Rashid Al-Farhan, Abd al-Razzaq Al-Zaid, Abd al-Aziz Al-Sagr, Ali Al-Umar, Muhammad Al-Khrafi, and Muhammad Al-Adsani. The resignations were in protests of the outcome of the elections. A by-election was held on May 10, 1967, bringing Ibrahim Al-Maylam, Ahmed Al-Abd Al-Jalil, Ahmed Al-Khlayfi, Khalid Al-Tahous, Khalaf Al-Ataybi, Rashid Ismail, and Ghanem Al-Amiri to the House. MP Ali Thnayan Al-Udayna, who represented the 9th constituency then, passed away during the 3rd legislative term. The seat was announced vacant on December 11, 1971. A by-election was held on February 9, 1972, resulting in the victory of Falih Laswaleh. On April 7, 1982, the 6th by-election was held in the 14th constituency, following the death of MP Nasser Al-Usaimi. Mahmoud Al-Jabri won the by-election vote. On December 29, 1992, the Constitutional Court annulled the voting in the 14th and 16th constituencies, an unprecedented verdict. A by-election on February 15, 1993, resulted in the victory of Mubarak Al-Khrenij and Mahmoud Al-Jabri, the very MPs whose seats were contested. The 8th by-election was held on February 19, 1997, after candidate Sadoun Al-Ataybi contested the results at the Constitutional Court. However, Walid Al-Jarri and Khalid Al-Adwa won the by-election and returned to their seats. Kuwaiti women gained the right to vote and to run for election in a historic vote in 2005. 4 years later, in 2009, 4 women were elected to the National Assembly. In 2005, a woman, Masooma Al-Mubarak, was chosen as a cabinet minister and was assigned the post of Planning Minister and Minister of State for Administrative Development Affairs. During the 2008 parliamentary elections, 27 of the 275 candidates were women. However, none of them won. In the parliamentary elections on the 16th of May 2009, 16 female candidates contested for the 50 seats available in parliament. 4 female candidates were able to win seats in this election and became Kuwait's first female lawmakers. Women now constitute 52% of eligible voters, but the actual representation in female candidates is not matched in terms of voter registration, as the percentage of women registered to vote has declined over the years. Nonetheless, Kuwaiti women maintain a strong presence in the political arena through numerous political activities anchored by the Kuwaiti youth. The results of the December 5th, 2020 parliamentary elections showed that women gained no new seats in the new parliament and that the only female incumbent failed to win re-election. Women turned out to vote in large numbers in Kuwait's parliamentary elections in many electoral districts. News websites and media covering the polling process documented high female turnout in the 5 districts. Since 2006, only 6 women have won seats in parliament. They are Masouma Al-Mbarak, Asil Al-Awadi, Rula Dashti, Dhikra Al-Rashidi, Salwa Al-Jassar, and Safa Al-Hashim, despite the large number of female voters. While every election cycle is different, last year's elections were held under unprecedented circumstances, especially due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In October 2020, the government limited the in-person pre-election campaign events to ensure citizens could vote safely. On election day, the government required citizens to wait outside the polling stations, to wear face masks, and to abide by social distancing guidelines. Such precautionary measures have accelerated the move to online campaigning, which could theoretically work to the advantage of women candidates, especially as social media is primarily consumed by millennials and the youth population. The December 5th, 2020 elections, however, also produced an all-male parliament, meaning that for the first time since 2012, there were no female lawmakers in parliament. Joining us now on the program is Dr. Bashair Al-Majid, who is an assistant professor of law at Kuwait University. Hello, Dr. Bashair.
Hello.
Dr.
How are you,
Bashair,
everyone?
thank you for joining us. What are
pleasure.
your
Thanks for
general
having me.
thoughts on the by-election?
Well, my general thoughts of the election, I feel now Kuwaiti people are more politically aware. They're seeking for change. The general awareness is very different. Obviously, we have health pandemic. There are health measures and precautions in place. The general campaigns are shifted to social media and media campaigns. So this could show you the different skills of candidates and who has, the strongest media presence, who can actually handle his media campaign better. Some candidates are extremely good at it, and others they have poor media skills. So people actually now deciding based on what they see on the media, unlike other general elections where they go to the actual candidate and speak with them face to face. It is not possible with the pandemic and the current measures. So I really think that it's more depending on the social media and the media PR and what the candidate could produce and what is his media skills are, I think, or her media skills. So this is I think what is going on this time.
Dr. Bashair, there are a number of women running to secure a place in the National Assembly. How significant is the role of women in the elections, and how important is it to have women representatives in the National Assembly?
Of course, it is really important and very, very fundamental. I mean, we need a full and active participation of women in the legislature as equal to men. It is not just a goal in itself, but it is essential to build a sustaining democracy. We need an equal presence of women, their leadership, their perspective. You know, they're very important. They are more than half of the society if we look at particularly Kuwait population. So they should have the chance to develop their political experience and knowledge so that they can obtain senior roles in the government, you know, in some later stage, because unfortunately, currently, we're in a kind of male-dominated society if we look into the political arena and political climate, which is not something that I am a big fan of, because simple reasons. We have a massive number of educated women. They've got higher degree of education, PhDs. They have very strong speaking skills, convincing skills with broad knowledge. But I think it's just the misrepresenting in the society, I think I would blame, or the lack of empowerment of the government. I think so, and that's why we find it really, really difficult in the society of Kuwait.
We need more public awareness on the importance of having women in parliament. Do you agree?
Of course, and it's not only public awareness, because I mean, if you speak to anyone, you know, he will tell you, okay, it's women empowerment, and I'm convinced. However, this and this and that. I mean, I think people, they need to adopt women and see more women in senior positions in the government first, so that the society can observe the fundamental role of women in the society first, and then at a later stage they can be 100% convinced to vote for them purely based on their performance, not because, you know, or not based on the gender.
So are you for or against a quota system?
See, well, I'm a doctor of law, so I mean, quota system is not purely legal, because it messes with the equality principle that we're all, you know, seeking for. However, in a society like Kuwait, I think the only solution is quota system, because, I mean, we need to inject women presence first before people seeing it as equal as man. And the only way to do that, and if you look all the, you know, very, very developing countries, this is the way they started. So if you speak to me purely legal, I would say no, because quota system could disturb the equality principle that we teach. Okay, and everyone is equal, and everyone should have equal chances, and etc. However, and this is what is interesting, because I mean, principles could vary from a region to another, and in Middle East, I think, I mean, to grow this organically, we need to have a quota system. So to answer your question is yes, I am with the quota system.
I appreciate your honesty. Well, with that said, do you believe that a female candidate can win in this by-election?
This particular one, no, unfortunately, because as I said, and I hate to be negative, but from reading figures and reading what's happened, you know, in a very short period, we had three governments. One suspended parliament and two parliaments in a very short period. So there is massive number of, you know, there's a lot of fluctuation in the political climate in Kuwait currently. So I think women chances in this particular election, I don't think it is particularly high. However, if we work on that, you know, that figure for the next coming election, I think the chance might be good.
Excellent. We really hope that we see female candidates to be more prominent in the assembly in the future. Dr. Bashair, looking specifically at the Ministry of Justice, how important is their role in the voting process?
Well, their role is crucially important, of course. I mean, they supervise the whole thing. They supervise the election. They make sure that everything is secure, everything is safe, in accordance and complying with the Ministry of Health rules and regulations, and yet everything is legal, everything is secure, identities are correct, and however, it is a good opportunity. Just to seek for maybe electronic-based elections, which can the Ministry of Justice supervise remotely. I think that would be more secure and advanced, because the current, system we have is very outdated, as it's just purely manual, and human errors can happen while you're counting manually. So I think it's a good transformation period with the pandemic and the difficulties of meeting humans all together, is just to maybe urgently ask for electronic elections in the upcoming future.
Dr. Bashair, aside of the governmental efforts due to the current circumstances with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic, the voting flow, the presence of voters may differ in this election compared to previous elections. Do you foresee a big turnout?
Sorry, I didn't hear you quite clearly. Are you asking about the presence of the voters?
Yes, the voter turnout.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, yes, that's a positive thing, actually. Yes, people are, you can see that the hunger or the thirst of people for change, and they go and they vote because they're seeking change, and they know that, elections and picking the right candidate, of course, the right candidate according to everybody's belief, picking the right candidate is important and can change things. So that's why you find, I find it positive that people are going and actually they're willing, to go and vote, and they realize how important is role now. And this grew, and this is what I was referring to before when I say things could grow organically, because statistically, if you look at the number of voters from this year to last elections and the elections before, you see a substantial number growth in those elections, and this tells you the whole story that democracy and it is growing in people. So we need to just do the same strategy for women to see them in the parliament.
Dr. Bashair Al-Majid, Assistant Professor of Law at Kuwait University, thank you very much for your input. It has been very helpful. Thank you so much. The December 5th, 2020 general elections witnessed a strong turnout in terms of candidates and voters. Nearly 30 candidates under the age of 45 were chosen by the voters to join the new lawmaking body, sending a promising signal to the youth segment of society that are hoping and praying for change and reform. Kuwait's National Assembly, which works with the government on a wide range of issues, is illustrative of arguably the most advanced democracy in the region. The 50-member National Assembly, founded in 1963, is directly elected by Kuwaiti citizens. While some have lamented that the Assembly sometimes contributes to gridlock on government initiatives, especially economic and development planning, Kuwaitis generally take pride in a democratic institution now entering its 7th decade. Kuwait's Electoral Committee officially announced the 50 elected members of parliament following the results of the 2020 parliamentary elections. The elections kicked off with 326 candidates running for the 50 seats. The voting process started from 8 a.m. local time and proceeded until 8 p.m. 567,000 voters were eligible to vote in the elections, to choose the 50 members to represent them in Parliament, with the winners to serve a 4-year term as National Assembly members. The legislative elections resulted in the victory of 31 new MPs, while 19 MPs succeeded in retaining their seats at the National Assembly. A total of 29 female candidates submitted their candidacy, but none were elected. Meanwhile, following the official results, His Highness Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, submitted the resignation of his cabinet to His Highness the Emir Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah in accordance with the Kuwaiti Constitution. An Emiri decree was also issued calling on the newly elected National Assembly to hold its first regular session of the 16th legislative term on December 15, 2020. All state institutions are working hard for the success of the electoral process during these exceptional circumstances that the entire world is witnessing due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Government institutions have a greater responsibility for the safety of the people by enforcing precautionary and preventive measures. Joining us on the program to discuss such measures is Mr. Osama Al-Midhan, the Chief Emergency Medical Technician. Hello, Mr. Osama.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good evening to you. Mr. Osama, there is continuous coordination with the Medical Emergency Unit during the elections process. Tell us about your preparations.
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me on your program. And I hope this election, this particular and exceptional election, our by-election of 2021, will run smoothly. And for us as a board duty, as emergency medical technicians and the emergency medical department in the Ministry of Health and the Department of Emergency Medical Services, it's to make sure that the election will run smoothly that day. And for precautions measurement, we have prepared crews of EMTs and paramedics stationed in those areas of elections. As far as I know, there's about 20 or 25 schools in the district, and we have 2 EMTs and paramedics inside the school and 2 outside on the ambulance vehicle, ready for any cases. God forbid, if anything happened, that they could transfer the case as fast as they can to the nearest hospital or a clinic. So for us as Emergency Medical Service Department, this is our duty to make sure that everybody, especially in this pandemic, that everybody's taking all the precautions and all the measures of safety and personal safety, as far as masks and keeping the distance between each other. And of course, if anybody needs any help, just let us know and we'll be there for you to help you.
Excellent. Give us a description of some of the hygiene measures you are imposing.
Well, if somebody needs any sanitizers, we have some sanitizers on the place, on the scene, just in case if anybody needs to disinfect themselves or disinfect anything that they're using of the equipment and materials. We have them, and of course, if somebody forgot their mask or their mask became broken or something, or they lost their mask, we could provide them with masks. Not everyone. Just I just want to clear that out. Not everyone. We cannot provide masks to everybody. But if somebody lost their mask or their mask been broken or forgot their mask, then we could help them with that. If some people have problems, especially people with allergy, we could have some certain gloves that's ready for them, so they could use those gloves to handle the papers and pen and everything, And for us as paramedics and EMTs, we always protect ourselves, wearing the personal equipment, safety equipment, and we disinfect all the time, keeping the mask on and taking all the precautions that we used to do from the beginning of the pandemic until now.
Yeah, obviously it's a serious pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. How important is the ministry's role? Can you elaborate in the voting process? Can you elaborate on that?
The Ministry of Health is one of the main roles in any event that happens in the country, to be honest. Just in case if anything happens, you need somebody to be on the scene. We cannot delay a call for a serious situation. So for us to be there on the scene, it's a responsibility we have to take to provide the service to all the people who are there, even people who are working on the election day, as far as our colleagues of Interior Ministry and other areas in the government area, and of course the elections themselves and their helpers also, not only the one that's voting. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you so much, Mr. Osama. I don't think we thank you enough. Thank you, and thank you to all your colleagues at the Ministry of Health for everything that you do for us.
Yep.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks.
The Kuwait Fire Force also plays an important role during the polling day and is an integral member in ensuring the success of the polling process on election day. Joining us on the program is Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Mashari Al-Faras, the head of the Emergency Dispatch Center at the Kuwait Fire Force. A very good afternoon to you, Lieutenant Colonel.
Good afternoon. Hello, Mazen. Thanks for having me in KTV2.
You're most welcome. Dr. Mashari, please explain to us the efforts of the Kuwait Fire Force in the voting process and the by-election.
Yeah, in general, Kuwait Fire Force has a specific procedure to secure the election day and all formal events that conducted in Kuwait. Actually, we have a formal election committee. It consists of officers from different sectors, such as the firefighting, the fire prevention sector, public relations, and the finance department. This committee usually activated 2 to 3 weeks before the election day to coordinate the efforts of Kuwait Fire Force and to ensure the fire safety in the election locations. This committee usually come up with a written plan that highlights like the accountability of the teamwork, and including the aim and the task of each participant.
Dr. Mashari, how is the by-election process moving along, in your opinion?
Well, the fire prevention officer inspected the schools which adopted as an election location to ensure all the passive and aggressive fire protection system in place and work efficiency, and to ensure that all the means of escape as well as the entrance of the fire trucks is clear. The firefighting sector locates like a fire truck nearby each election location to be used as first aid for any fire that could occur in the election location and to reach the required response time. And usually all these participants are in touch with the emergency dispatch center at all times.
Just wanted to extend a word of thanks to you and your colleagues at the Kuwait Fire Force. Thank you so much, Dr. Mashari Al-Faras, the head of the Emergency Dispatch Center at the Kuwait Fire Force.
Thank you very much for highlighting the fire officers' activity and effort.
You are most welcome. On Thursday, March 13th, 2021, the Ministry of Interior opened its doors for candidates looking to participate in the by-election for the one seat available at the 5th Electoral District after former MP Badr Al-Dahoum's membership was revoked, leaving his seat vacant. The Department of Election Affairs at the Ministry of Interior stated that on the first day of registration, 4 candidates had applied and that the registration process would continue for 10 days. In accordance with the procedures stipulated in the Kuwaiti Constitution and the Kuwaiti law that organizes the elections, and in the event that one of the National Assembly seats becomes vacant, supplementary elections will be called to elect a member to fill the vacant seat. The by-election will be held in the 5th Electoral District on May 22, 2021, which is almost 40 days after candidates were allowed to register. In implementation of the provisions of the Kuwaiti National Assembly Elections Law and the laws amending it, supplementary elections are called for upon the directives of the Minister of Interior. The date for the general election is determined by a decree, and the decree or decision must be published in the official gazette at least 1 month before the date set for the election. The Ministry of Interior announced that persons wishing to run for the by-election must meet the conditions for running for Parliament, which are as follows. The candidate to be nominated must be a Kuwaiti citizen. It is required that the name of the applicant be listed in the electoral tables. The applicant must be at least 30 years of age on the day of polling. It is required that he or she be fluent in spoken and written Arabic. The applicant must not have been previously sentenced to a criminal penalty. The applicant pays the 50 Kuwaiti dinar security stipulated in the law. Ministers, judges, public prosecutors, and members of the public administration are not allowed to nominate themselves unless they resign from their positions before registering. Persons holding the position of chairpersons of the voter registration committees and their first-degree relatives may not nominate themselves in the work departments of those committees unless they refrain from participating in their work. Military and police officers who wish to run for parliamentary elections must prove that they have ended their military service at the time of submitting their candidacy application. To get the Ministry of Interior perspective, joining us from the Department of Elections is Legal Colonel Fahad Al-Uthman. Mr. Fahad, thank you for being with us. What, in your opinion, is the number of those who applied for candidacy as well as the number of those who withdrew? Is it a large number? Is it normal?
Well, the Department of Election witnessed the registration of the 37 candidates. The total number of candidates withdrawn was 22. So the final number will be 15, 14 male and 1 female.
What you said? Can you repeat the numbers again? 14 males and 20 female.
14 male and just 1.
1 female.
Yeah.
What is the number of voters in the 5th district? Men, women.
Well, the total voters are 166,222 voters. There are 84,777 males and 81,445 females.
Thank you very much, Legal Colonel Fahad Al-Uthman, for joining us and for helping us out in our coverage.
You're welcome.
Yes, the total number of candidates was 35, with 33 male candidates and only 2 female. But after a few candidates withdrew their names, a total of 15 candidates remained. The polling process for the by-elections is being conducted in accordance with health requirements in light of the continued threat of the COVID-19 pandemic. Polling stations are distributed in 26 schools, which will be evenly split for males and female voters. The main committee has been designated for COVID-19 patients and for those in contact with those patients. The Red Crescent Society is participating in this by-election. We are now joined by Alia Ali Deshti, member of the Red Crescent. Alia, a very good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much. Very good afternoon to you too.
Alia, the Kuwait Red Crescent Society always plays an important role in various activities, and this time it is the by-election. Please explain to us the role of the Red Crescent in this election.
Sure. So, yes, as you've mentioned, the Kuwait Red Crescent Society has a very important role to play in the community that it exists in serving the community members as a social service. So what we do is that we are always present in election events and exhibitions and stuff like that. We work as a backbone to the civil defense and the EMS, emergency medical services. Our presence basically will be to smooth out the process of elections in terms of helping the people who are going to cast their vote. So we are there for guidance, for organization, for helping the elderly. We try to guide them to the places where they're supposed to vote. Basically, we are there to give any kind of helping hand. In addition to the fact that our volunteers who will be dispersed all over the schools that will be involved in the voting. Our boys and girls will be distributed there. They are fully equipped with first aid knowledge and life-saving knowledge, and they have their first aid bags with them for any emergency, God forbid. In addition to the fact that we are in the corona times now, so an extra precaution is being taken in terms of sanitization, giving out masks and gloves, and basically keeping the social distancing, and we're there for all of that.
Alia, you are involved in the organizing process. How is that going? Can you give us some details?
So basically, well, obviously, we are impartial and independent unity. Nevertheless, we are there fully to help the people who are going to cast their votes. So what we do is we give guidance. If we answer the questions that they have any questions. We lead them to their rooms. We help them to find the correct places where they're supposed to be casting their vote. The illiterate people, we try to help them find their names and numbers, and we take them to their to the places where they're supposed to be, in and out. Basically, we have wheelchairs for the elderly, and this is all just to encourage them to cast their vote, because this is a very patriotic thing to do, and we don't want any reason for them to sit at home. We have tried to solve all the problems that they could face so that they are more encouraged to go and participate in this event.
Thank you very much, Alia Deshti, for your input, and very good luck to you and your colleagues in your work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The real joy does not only reside in ensuring a successful electoral process, but also in the social responsibility of fully preserving the high standards of health for every component of our society. if there are those who are eager to exercise their right to vote and to elect, our country expects us all to comply with the measures adopted in this case to help maintain and ensure our health security and safety.